I started identifying as a voice hearer in my early 20s when I started to hear it was a kind of a negative self-talk that became very intrusive, and I started to call it the critic, this particular voice. And as I named it and heard it more often, I started to call it a voice. So there was some sort of transition between negative self-talk to voice that happened in my early 20s. I don't hear a lot of voices anymore, and I believe that's because I've started to own my emotions. I've started to feel them, for want of a better word, to actually feel like anger. I can feel it now in my body. So when something makes me angry, instead of jumping straight to anxiety, I can feel my anger, which means that I don't need a voice to help me express that emotion. So that's the first thing, is I don't actually hear voices very often. But when I do hear voices, which does happen occasionally, it's always because I'm stressed. So I can see it as a warning sign that things are a little, I need to address something to reduce stress in my life. Or it's a warning sign that I'm not feeling that emotion properly. So that I'm angry and I'm somehow not aware of it. Because for me, my voices are very much about dissociation, so dissociated emotions. So I guess it's a sign that I'm dissociating. And if I read them like that, then they don't terrify me so much. They don't have such a hold over me. I can kind of step back from them and go, oh, that's interesting. My mind is working in this way today and this is why. I remember so clearly the first time I went to a hearing voices group, and it wasn't long into my psychosis. So I was really unwell, and I don't even know where I heard about it. I don't know how I ended up there. It was like the universe put me there through good blessing. And I was like shaking a lot at that point, so I was trembling and I couldn't look people in the eye. I had a lot of trouble speaking. The voices were imprisoning me. They wouldn't let me talk and communicate with people. So when I got to the group, what I do remember is the facilitator, Janet, just looking up at me and welcoming me with this great big smile. And there was this room full of people who were they just all were very kind people. I felt really safe straight away in this environment. And I was invited to sit in the circle, and I wasn't pushed to talk. I just told them my name, and I think that was about it. I really didn't say much for the whole session. And this happened for several weeks, maybe 4 to 6 weeks. I would just turn up to these groups and sit in this really safe, lovely environment and learn from other people what was helping them. And I guess the first thing that hit me was the revelation that, it's other people heard voices, other people coped. There were lots of different coping strategies that people employed. There were people there that had been chronically unwell, written off by the system, but were doing fine. They were working. My facilitator was one of those people. I really looked up to her as a huge role model. I kind of thought, wow, if she had this horrific story of voice hearing and she came through it, and now look at her, look what she's doing, maybe I can do that as well. So I guess the little spark of hope was lit. And also in that group I got pushed. It was mainly the facilitator who pushed me. Like, she could see that I probably had something valid to say, like we all have something valid to say in these groups, and she pushed me to say it. She would sort of invite me to speak, and this pushing went on and on and on, and it continues to this day, because Voices Vic actually got me to co-facilitate groups when I got to a certain level of wellness, and then they invited me to work for them as a peer worker, so I was able to work one-on-one with people who heard voices, and all these little steps were little pushes. And I don't know if I would have pushed myself without someone else inspiring me to do it. So yeah, I guess just in a nutshell, what's made the biggest difference is that social network of people who understand what you've gone through. It's a peer network. That's the whole point of it. So other voice hearers helping voice hearers, and having people believe in you that you can recover, because that's what Voices Vic offer to anyone. Their mantra is everyone can recover. And I think they really believe that and live that value out.